Steve, master miner and crafter of worlds. The Terrarian, survivalist savior and purifier of corruption. These heroes set out to carve a path for themselves, and carved a very literal one into the worlds around them. But which paragon of survival and creativity will come out on top? For this fight, we'll be looking at both their main games, as well as the spin-off games Minecraft Dungeons and Minecraft Legends, since Steve is a playable character in Dungeons and Legends takes place in the same continuity. He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick, and it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle. The sun rises and a new day is heralded. The animals graze, the villagers go about their day, and a land of infinite possibilities is brought forth. Welcome to a world of endless creativity. Welcome to the world of Minecraft. Peace increase and not your speed? Yeah, not mine either. So grab your sword and armor and head down to those depths. It's time to fight for survival and kill some dungeon-dwelling monsters. Clear out forgotten strongholds, fight the forces of hell, and slay a dragon. All before a nice steak dinner. Life is good. A life that belongs to both everyone and only one person. While many people have shared this experience and can bond over the passion it brings, such a mantle only truly befalls one man. And the name of this true champion is... Steve? And yes, that question mark is part of his name. While Minecraft may look like a cozy, wholesome game, turns out Steve is actually kind of a badass. I mean, hey, is it really that surprising when the first thing he did upon being created was shatter meter-wide logs with his bare hands, and then casually carry several oak trees worth of wood around like it was nothing? Wood was nothing. It wouldn't be long until Steve decked himself out with stone, iron, gold, and finally the ultimate luxury, diamond. What about netherite? You know, the ore from the nether that's 200 times tougher than iron? The stuff Steve's strongest armor and weapons are made from? I don't care what the game says. Diamonds are always going to be top of the food chain, Wiz. Well, the game does in fact say otherwise. Iron blocks have a blast resistance of 6, whereas netherite has a value of 1,200. Forget mining them himself, Steve can trade blows with monsters like the Ender Dragon, who can vaporize over 200 cubic meters of the stuff casually. Doing something like that would mean the dragon is hitting with the equivalent of over 600 kilotons of TNT, more than 3 times greater than your average nuclear bomb. And Steve could take that dragon down, shrugging off its hits the whole time. And then, after slaying the Ender Dragon, Steve retired and didn't have any more adventures. Nope. None at all. Until a pesky illager named Archie got his hands on the Orb of Dominance. And then stuff got real. So, Steve set out on yet another adventure, and he had the tools to back him up. In addition to his classic weapons like swords, axes, bows, crossbows, tridents, maces, and more, he's got armor and shield that let him shrug off most attacks, ender pearls that let him teleport at the cost of taking a slight bit of damage, TNT, flint and steel, totems of undying that he can destroy to return from death, boat to let him speed across water and ice, a lytra wing to let him glide around, firework rockets, a fishing rod that can pull creatures or objects to him, enchanted golden apples that shoot resistance through the roof, and a whole host of potions to amp his speed, strength, durability, luck, regeneration, and more, as well as instantly heal him or let him turn invisible, though his gear isn't affected. He's also got negative potions he can throw on people to inflict poison, slowness, weakness, instant damage, or fill them with bugs? And if he himself is hit by a negative status effect, he can get rid of it by just swigging some milk. And he can carry all this and more thanks to tools like shulker boxes, letting him store way more items than you'd expect him to be able to. Though this arsenal would start paling in comparison to the threats he would find himself working against, like the wretched race, who was going to plunge the world into a global winter, requiring power worth 10 gigatons of TNT, over 16,000 times more powerful than the dragon. Ha! And you thought that dragon was the toughest thing Steve's fought. Oh no, we've seen nothing yet. The Orb of Dominance is actually a cosmic monster known as the Heart of Ender, who was able to shoot a beam to the sun in seconds and freeze it solid. Based on the size of the Minecraft sun in the sky, we can estimate the distance to it to be a little over 8 million kilometers. To travel that distance in only a couple seconds, that beam would have had to have been traveling at almost 14 times the speed of light. Not only that, but this same orb was able to stop the rotation of the planet. Contrary to popular belief, the Minecraft world isn't actually an infinite plane, and is pretty consistently depicted as a planet. This is evidenced even in-game by things like the photography table depicting a globe, and even just the existence of day-night cycle. Taking the border size of a Minecraft world and assuming this is the size of one of the planet's faces, we can find this planet to be around 200 times more massive than Earth is. And based on how fast the day-night cycle goes by, this planet would have been spinning at over 150 kilometers per second. Accounting for the fact that inner parts of the planet would be spinning slower, stopping that sort of rotation would take 11 Yoda tons of TNT. And at the end of this journey, Steve fought and defeated the Heart of Ender, then defeated it again after it reached a perfect form. Though, Steve had grown a lot stronger in this time to match. Yeah, he had a whole host of new weapons and armor at his disposal with all sorts of powers, though once he reached the apex of his power, he didn't even need armor to shrug off the Heart's attacks. Though he'd want armor anyways, thanks to the multitude of enchantments he could slap on. In addition to basic defensive buffs, these enchantments can let him walk on water with Frostwalker, inflict double damage back onto the attackers with Thorns, and plenty of more esoteric options. He can slow nearby enemies and set them on fire with Chilling and Burning, call down lightning with Electrify, pull enemies in with Gravity Pulse, and tons more. His weapons come with just as much variety. They can channel fire, ice, electricity, and gravity, just like his armor, and can also lock enemies in place with chains, create noxious gas with Poison Cloud, steal speed with Tempo Theft, and he even has special weapons that can tear out your soul. He's got way more than just that. In the ultimate power move, he took the corrupted beacon that the Heart of Ender created and can use it as a weapon himself, firing a devastating beam of darkness. And that's not the only artifact he has. Scatter mines, corrupted seeds that can mobilize enemies in twisted vines, a harvester tome that can make explosions of souls, satchels that provide him with unlimited potions and food, a love medallion that can make enemies fight for him, summoning items that conjure iron golems, soul wizards, wolves, small ghosts known as vexes, and a whole bunch more that we have no time to list. At the end of the day, Steve is countless things: a creator, a survivor, an explorer, and a hero. A sculptor of worlds who made memories for so many people the world over. The face and inspiration of a universe. And the universe said, "I love you, because you are love." And the game was over, and the player woke up from the dream. And the player began a new dream. And the player dreamed again, dreamed better. And the player was the universe. And the player was love. Long ago, the dread Cthulhu rained destruction upon the world of Terraria. Raising all in his wake, the tyrant would be confronted by a powerful order of dryads who, in a self-sacrificing act, overpowered his might and forced him to retreat behind the moon, but with only a single dryad surviving the war. With the world at an uneasy peace, even as cultists mobilize to return Cthulhu to the world, a new day dawns. And that's where you come in, the Terrarian, a hero without a name, destined to save the world once more from impending doom. Steered by the order of the guide, it wouldn't be long until the Terrarian was on the track to greatness, slaying monsters, safeguarding towns, and gathering resources, their might ever growing. It started small, mining, chopping down trees, building houses, using swords and bows to fend off zombies, slimes, and similar threats. Though one night, a terrible presence would take watch, and the Eye of Cthulhu would awake. Fighting through the night, the Terrarian would emerge victorious, but from that moment on, the danger would feel much, much more real. Still, the Terrarian would persevere, and power through countless more threats. The Goblin Army, the Eater of Worlds, Skeletron, the Dungeon, and even the forces of Hell itself. Until finally, the Terrarian was face to face with the Wall of Flesh, the guardian of the world and a force keeping the highest powers locked away. Destroying the wall would unleash untold horrors and monsters upon the world, but would give access to all manner of weapons and magic, the sort of magic needed to defeat Cthulhu, now simply known as the Moon Lord. So, with that, the Terrarian destroyed the wall and the world was forever changed. And if you thought the Terrarian was a beast before, you've seen nothing yet. They've got your usual weapons like swords, bows, spears, boomerangs, the works, but they also have more modern weapons like grenades and firearms. And not just flintlocks and muskets. Even before the Spirits of Light and Dark were released, the Terrarian could wield bad boys like the Mini-Shark. Half shark, half gun, completely awesome. After the Spirits got released, the Terrarian could empower it with mystical energy, taken from Titanic mechs to power it up into the Mega Shark. They've also got sniper rifles, rocket and grenade launchers, shotguns, proximity mines, and the boomstick? Oh yeah, and yo-yos for some reason. Moving on, those souls are the core to much of the Terrarian's power and progress, and provide the magical element for much of their arsenal. Speaking of which, they're a highly competent magic user. Even a lot of their normal weapons can manifest magic effects, like the powerful Terror Blade, which can fire waves of energy. And they've got plenty of wizardy shit as well. They can fire homing energy buzzsaws with the Razor Blade Typhoon, freeze the ground with the Ice Rod, create walls of flame with the Klinger Staff, fire blasts of dark energy with the Shadow Beam Staff, drain vitality with the Life Drain, call down meteors with the Meteor Staff, and so much more. Speaking of the Meteor Staff, to reach the ground from space in such a short time frame, the meteors would have to be moving at nearly Mach 200, and the Terrarian can keep up with them. Rocks of that size, moving at that speed, would be impacting with the force of over 6 kilotons of TNT, and it's only a mid-tier weapon for them. They've got more utilitarian items as well. They can teleport with the Rod of Harmony, buff themselves with tons of different potions, resist all manner of negative status effects with the Ankh Shield, swing around with a grappling hook, return to life after dying with resurrection potions, purge corruption with purification powder, dodge attacks with the Master Ninja gear, and even fly thanks to their wings. These wings are able to keep up with the Motion Saucer, capable of flying from Mars to the planet in just 2 seconds. Assuming the world of Terraria is a comparable distance away from Mars as Earth is, that means these saucers can fly at over 375 times the speed of light. Eventually, the Terrarian would slay the lunatic cultist and harness the power of the cosmos to stop the Moon Lord. Using celestial fragments, the Terrarian would forge gear the likes of which the world had never seen. Melee weapons like the Solar Eruption Whip and Daybreak Javelins, a ranged arsenal including the Phantasm Bow and Vortex Beater Rifle, powerful magic options such as the devastating Nebula Blaze Gauntlet and Nebula Arcanum Orb, and even new summons in the form of Stardust Cells and the extremely powerful Stardust Dragon. Not to mention the armor made from the same energy, which the Terrarian can use to turn invisible, create barriers, manifest the Spirit Guardian, and absorb the magic energy from slain foes. Hell, even non-weapons forged from this stuff like the Lunar Hook are capable of pulling the moon down. Not surprising when the pillars this stuff comes from could do the same, and the Terrarian took those down no problem. They can even use items like the Gravity Globe to reverse the direction of gravity. Pulling the moon to the world as quickly as the pillars did would require over 150 Ronatons of TNT, and the Terrarian should be comparable in power. It's no wonder that with this arsenal at their disposal, the Terrarian would slay the Moon Lord, and Terraria would know peace once more. Well, not entirely peace, because the Moon Lord was hoarding some of the sickest weapons known to man, that now all belong to the Terrarian. Rapid-fire firework cannons like the Celebration Mark II that can level mountains. Immensely powerful magical artifacts like the Last Prism, capable of firing beams that annihilate anything in their paths. Staves that open portals to other realms and blast full of energy. And incredibly powerful blades like the Star Axe, which can rain down cosmic torrents. Though these would all pale in comparison to the Terrarian's ultimate weapon. By combining their arsenal together, they can craft the Zenith, the ultimate sword. Though, frankly, this thing barely resembles a sword in practice. Instead of being swung normally, it sends out a barrage of dozens of different blades that can tear practically anything to shreds in the blink of an eye. The Terrarian can walk on water, create sentries like ballistas, frost hydras, and even auras of lightning that ignore defense. They can heal themselves with potions, turn into a werewolf at night to amp their strength, open portals with a portal gun, and conjure a whole host of mounts and summons. But beyond all those strengths and adventure, they are, above all, a hero. Terraria is saved, and the Terrarian will forever be carved into the tapestry of its history. They are everyone, yet no one. Every face, every voice, every skill set, all of them, and yet only one lost to time. Perhaps that one is you. Alright, the combatants are set. We run the data through all possibilities. It's time for a death battle! Oh, come on! The Terrarian had a boomstick and knew a wizard! How could they lose? While on the surface, the Terrarian provided much more of a spectacle, closer inspection revealed these two could go blow for blow in plenty of ways. Both could provide themselves with ample buffs while resisting any negative conditions, constantly heal and fly with wings, and both had absolutely massive arsenals including a variety of summons and even a limited supply of items that would let them return from death. Yeah, most of their buff options would balance each other out, and any debuffs they could inflict would either be resisted by the Ankh Seal or removed via milk, though that's not to say they were evenly matched in every category. For example, it's not difficult to see that a Terrarian is much more mobile. Steve can teleport with Ender Pearls, sir, but doing so hurts him. Compare that to the Terrarian's flawless teleportation with the Rod of Harmony, and a whole bunch of other tools. Grappling hooks, mounts, the gravity globe, and wings that provide much more control than the Elytra. Likewise, the Terrarian was notably faster as well. Comparing the Mouse and Saucer traveling from Mars to Terraria, and the Herd of Enders shooting the Sun, the Terrarian was fighting at over 25 times Steve's best speed. However, Steve held sizable advantages of his own. Let's talk about power. At a low end, we can compare the Meteor Staff to the Eternal Winter, already giving Steve a massive power advantage, but both of these characters can obviously reach much more cosmic levels. In that regard, the Celestial Pillars pulling the moon is actually more impressive than the Herd of Ender stopping the rotation of the planet, several thousand times so in fact. However, this isn't actually the most impressive thing the Herd's done. Yeah, let's talk about that time the Herd froze the sun. Assuming the sun was cooled uniformly throughout, and by looking at the elements within the sun, their mass, and their freezing points, we can find that in total, an energy yield equivalent to over 80 quatatons of TNT would be required, almost 550 times greater than the Celestial Pillars pulling the moon. So, despite being faster, the Terrarian just blacked away to kill Steve, whereas Steve could bulldoze them with just a single hit, especially with options to trap the Terrarian in place or pull them in, like Gravity Pulse and Chains. Even the Terrarian's defense bypassing abilities like the Lightning Aura wouldn't do much good, given at his peak, Steve could contend with the Herd of Ender without even needing armor. Strength gap aside, Steve just had much better survivability. Infinite food and potions, thanks to those satchels, outclasses the Terrarian supply, and enchanted golden apples are a superior support item to anything in the Terrarian stock. Both did have items that let them return from death, but this hardly made a difference. The Terrarian lacked a wing condition, and eventually their resurrection potions would run out. There was even the possibility that Steve's soul-stealing weapons could prevent the potions from being effective in the first place. So, regardless of if you accept that or not, the strength gap made it impossible for the Terrarian's extra lives to count, especially when you consider Steve has them as well. The Terrarian was admittedly a much better ranged combatant, and had much more destructive weaponry, but Steve wasn't far behind in that department either, especially with weapons like the Corrupted Beacon. And that brings us to possibly Steve's most surprising advantage: Thorns. Turns out, Thorns would be a huge problem for the Terrarian to overcome. Any direct attack the Terrarians threw would be cutting through them way more than Steve, without Steve having to lift a finger. So, Terrarian's only real options were explosives and summons, which, given Steve can turn the Terrarian summons back on them with things like the Love Medallion, yeah, not great. Steve also had ways of dealing damage to anyone nearby, like the Burning Enchantment, further working around the Terrarian speed advantage. Fittingly enough, this fight just came down to who had the better survivability. And while the Terrarian is no slouch, Steve's strength, defensive options, and unrivaled healing ability ensured he'd be the last one standing. Steve may have looked to be the underdog, but he proved himself to be a diamond in the rough, and the Terrarian picked the wrong fight. The winner is... Steve?